Hey, friendos, welcome back to the Four Lights Podcast. I, as always, am Steve here, and as always, I'm joined today by Big Jeff. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm Big Jeff.
Gotta get my fucking intro skills better.
You're doing great.
I'm so used to the going in raw intro, which I can do just while I'm sleeping. I gotta
How you doing? Steve here. Going in Star Trek.
I sound like Rick from Rick and Morty there. Hey, what are you doing? Anyways, speaking of messes, Lonely Among Us.
Not a great episode. It's funny the sort of discontinuity between episode quality in the early seasons, particularly the first one. Like, again, the episode we just talked about that you might have watched last week, or you might have just watched it if you're binging this. A high quality episode.
Oh yeah, big time.
Where no one has gone before. Really enjoyable episode. Probably one of my favorite from the first season. This Lonely Among Us is not one of my favorites.
No, this was trash, and it felt forever.
Yeah,
and there were so many. My notes on this.
I took a lot of notes, and we were just talking about it. But I was like, why did I take so many notes when it's just bad?
It went. It went.
Felt like that episode feels like it was 6 hours long.
It does. It went from scene to scene to scene to scene. There are so many scenes in this.
Yeah.
There are so much is happening for nothing to be happening.
For just nonsense. Yeah.
We do get some more cannibalism though.
Yeah. They actually sort of show it, don't they? I know they do some pretty graphic descriptions. Well, that comes later. We'll get into it.
Anyways,
so 2 planets are applying for membership to the Federation.
Yeah. And the Enterprise is taking on some delegates from
both races on both planets. Both races of these 2 planets loathe each other.
Hate each other. They hunt each other when they can.
White hot intensity. Yeah, they hunt each other.
And they eat each other when they can too.
They just like automatically, they seem to, everybody in this Enterprise seems to know this, and the Federation seems to know this. It seems like why wouldn't you just send 2 ships?
Yeah.
Why would you host them all in one ship?
Yeah. And it's
maybe keep them separate and evaluate them instead of throwing them together, where you can't even have them on the same deck because they're immediately like, I smell one of the other races.
Right.
Keep them downwind from us. And it's like, that's just really bad. First
Number
of all,
one, wind.
If you're that racist against another, like essentially a race from your own solar system, I don't think that you're going to be a good fit for the Federation.
No, man.
Which is a melting pot.
Yeah.
And we try to accept everybody. You know, if you have that deep a division for your neighbor,
isn't there some sort of process after filling out the paperwork, but before they get to the flagship, that would have weeded these people out in the first place?
Yes.
How did they get this far?
Doesn't make sense.
Was it like a video application, like where they just showed, look at our wonderful planet and look at our wonderful species? Aren't we great? And then, oh, sure, let's send the Enterprise over there in full dress outfits to talk this over. You would think that there'd be some research. No, these aliens hate these aliens. These aliens eat these aliens. Probably a bad fit for the Federation.
No,
we should probably just deny them.
The only way that I would retcon a justification would be like, those planets in the system, or some sort of planet in the system they both have governance over, has some sort of the resource that the Federation needs.
Yeah.
So they need one of those planets on their side. They need one of the planets in the Federation. So it's like just a straight up political move. But as far as like a race that should be allowed and welcomed into the Federation, neither one of them seem good.
It would have to be like, hey, those lizard people, they make the most amazing hot wings.
Yeah.
I'm like I've had Risa hot wings and it's fine. It's nothing. It's like eating shit compared to these lizard people.
I bet Risa has good hot wings.
Probably.
I love a good hot wing.
It'd have to be. I mean, whatever it is, you're probably right. Like one of these planets has to have some freaking amazing resource, like some sort of plague cure or something. I don't know.
I mean, I was thinking like some sort of propulsion element or some sort of metal or just something. But I mean, hot wings would be up there for me.
But here's the thing, though. I would think that the Enterprise, because here's the thing, the crew of the Enterprise immediately, without any subterfuge, show off how disgusted they are with these people. They don't try to hide or try to be diplomatic. They're like, you immediately repulse me.
The first race that we introduced to, and this is, we should note, the first appearance of the Starfleet dress uniform.
Yeah.
Riker, Picard, and Yar are in the Starfleet dress uniform, which I always thought was a really sharp outfit.
Yeah, me too. I like it.
Really cool.
It's
It's almost like a semi-dress thing.
Yeah.
Even the men are wearing it. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's like really cool. It's like a sort of a thigh-length version of the shirt. It's got a really smart line that's not really on the regular uniform.
Yeah.
It's cool looking.
No, it looks great.
And they're there to receive representatives from the Sealay, which is a very snake-like, snake-like race.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of hissing.
They're like
very
the V
reptilian.
aliens. They're like the V aliens.
Yeah.
Remember them? Yeah.
Like the classic V alien from the 80s miniseries with Mark Singer.
Yeah. And wasn't Kirstie Alley in that too? Or no? Am I
think
tripping about that? Okay. Somebody else. Really? She's not in that?
No,
Maybe not. I'll look it up. Anyways, yeah, so they all meet the lizard people. They're dicks. And they're like, yeah, we don't want to be near the Anticans. They say, how far away are we from the Anticans? And they're like about 100
Just immediately
meters.
so hateful towards the Antigans.
Yeah.
Get them away from us. I haven't pulled it up yet, but I think it was like Kim Cattrall. Was that it?
Maybe it was Kim Cattrall. I'm looking up Kirstie Alley first. Where's her IMDb? There's all sorts of weird stories about her first, I guess. Well, like V, the miniseries. Not B, the miniseries, V, the miniseries. Anyways, so they're like, yeah, how far are we away from them? And Riker's like, we have you about 100 meters away from them, which is a pretty fair distance right there. Mm-hmm. And they're like, not good enough. And he was like, okay, whatever. Anyways, Yar and Picard are both kind of poo-pooing the idea that the lizards can join the Federation.
Yeah.
Picard and Riker both wax philosophical on races that don't get along. And they start talking about, Riker's like, I don't get why people are like that to each other. Even when I study Earth history, it's still like, so yeah, she totally wasn't in that, huh?
No.
Okay. He's like, even when I studied Earth history, I don't understand why there's so many conflicts and stuff. So it's like, hey, you know what, Riker, you live in a, civilized era. Good for you. I know war sucks. So anyways, the Enterprise then comes across like a cloud of energy.
Yes.
Like a weird energy cloud.
It's essentially a giant fart in space.
Right.
It's just a big space fart.
Exactly. Back in, I think, engineering, but I think it's more like a little sub area of like sensor stuff. Geordi and Worf are there working on the sensors for the ship. And Geordi's like, Worf, why are you here? And Worf says, because Captain Picard wants all of his junior officers to learn. But it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't. Worf has his good aspects. He's got his good traits. Skilled tactician, fantastic eventual chief of security.
Amazing hand-to-hand combatant.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Not sure I'd want him working on my sensors.
No.
It's not his field of expertise. Why would he be on there? Because it's not like he's being supervised.
No.
Like, how can you learn if
Geordi didn't even know why he was there. Like, Geordi should know.
Yeah. He's just tinkering away, though. Mm-hmm. Oh, what is this? And he's just like hitting things, He's like, censor this. So, anyways, they notice on the bridge that the energy fart starts to change shape. And then back in the little sensor area, Worf touches a panel and he makes the goofiest Worf.
Blue electric bolts are all over him. He's like,
Right. As that, because I can relate. I've been electrocuted. I've stuck a fucking screwdriver in an electric light. It's like,
I did it a couple weeks ago. I was replacing an outlet. I got a 2-pack of those outlets that have the USB built in.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm swapping those out.
Dude,
And,
did you not hit the breaker? Come on, you got to.
I didn't want to go outside. It seemed like too much work.
I told you this last time I was at your house and you were installing that damn ceiling fan. I was like, did you turn the breaker off?
See, the ceiling fan makes more sense because that's at least hooked up to a wall switch. So
Yeah.
as long as the wall switch is off, I'll be fine.
It's not good.
No, you're right. I 100% should have turned the breaker off. I should have.
Like, here's the thing.
Very foolish.
I'm an idiot, and I know that.
No, it was a bad move. I got through almost the entire project and realized that I had hooked it up wrong, or I did something wrong. I had to pull it back out.
Oh, God.
I had the breaker off most of the time, but it was the fact that I screwed up and I
Right.
needed to pull it back out.
Oh,
and I
no.
was like, I don't want to go back out.
Oh.
And of course, I just grabbed the thing just for a second. I'm like, ah! Hey, dude, it's full of Worf. I'm like, ah!
Oh, man. Anyways, that's our intro. Back from the intro, Crusher is there helping Worf.
Why
was there another guy that had fallen down behind them? Did you notice that? There was a science.
Right,
there was a science officer.
When Worf gets electrocuted?
When we're back from the intro, Crusher is there with Worf. He's on the ground. She's checking him out. I'm pretty sure Geordi is kneeling down saying, yeah, doctor, blah, blah, blah. Behind them, there's a science officer. Hold on a second. I'm going to friggin' pull this up because I
did not notice that at all.
I was like,
there was just another dude that was just totally lying down.
Yes. And he was like a white dude. He was like getting up. And I think Crusher was like, hey, are you okay? And he's like, mm-hmm. Let's see here. Continue watching. Here we go. No, I don't want to watch Justice just yet, although I'm very looking forward to that episode.
I watched it. It's not bad.
Here we go. Lonely Among Us. Make sure this is muted. Yeah, it is. All right, here we go. Watch this shit. Okay, so... Okay, so then we come back. Okay.
Right there.
Oh, wait.
That guy's standing up.
Okay, so watch this guy here. Maybe something happened.
Worf lopes on him, yeah.
Okay.
Worf comes
All
to...
right, so I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah,
that's what
Worf
it was.
comes to... That's why that guy is laying down. You probably turn your head.
I think I did.
When they get back from the intro, Worf comes to and flips out.
Yeah.
He grabs a blue shirt, throttles him, throws him across the room.
That guy sells the shit out of it.
Lays down for the rest of the scene. Because, I mean, why not?
He's not a security officer. He's like, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up for this. He's checking his hand.
Geordi somehow gets a hold of Worf, which doesn't really make much sense because Klingons are much stronger than humans.
Geordi's small.
Geordi is small and really just lays on top of Worf and is like, does this do it? He's like, can you get him? You got him?
Got a 3 count.
I'm laying on him.
Worf kicks out.
So Crusher gets him up and mobile, and they take him to sickbay.
Yeah. I should have probably paid closer attention.
Yeah. No, you shouldn't have paid it. This is not a great episode. You didn't miss much. That's the best part, really.
It really is. So anyways, let's see here. Crusher helps Worf. Yar is then telling the Antikins, who are look kind of like dog people.
They're sort of doggy. They look like slimy dog people.
Yeah.
They're very sweaty.
And they
have long white hair that comes off of their
snout. They're mouth breathers. They speak with perfect articulation, but not once do their lips touch.
Yeah.
They're like, oh,
it's pure ADR.
It's really bad. So anyways, the Antikins, who are asking about their food.
They're very concerned with their dietary requirements.
Yeah, they want live animals.
They want their food. They don't. They want live animals. They have live animals that are supposed to be like in a bin or something that they can pick up and slaughter.
Yeah.
And then cook and eat.
Yeah.
And this is when they introduce them and the audience as well to the concept of food replication.
Yeah.
Which really grosses the Antikins out.
Yeah, and I get that, but the funny thing is Riker. So again, if you're entertaining this delegation, shouldn't you at least try to cater to their needs? I understand that in the future, and I'm very happy about this. Slaughtering animals is no longer something that humans on Earth do.
Yes.
Shouldn't they recognize? The Klingons do, and they acknowledge and respect that.
Yep.
I would think that they would respect the culture of these aliens and say,
especially if you're playing host.
Yeah, and
they're not asking you to slaughter the animals. They're just saying,
provide them.
Can you provide us this, which is you should be culturally sensitive to our being.
And Riker says that's not how we do it.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore.
It's a little weird.
Yeah. And in fact, Yar and Riker both look openly disgusted. They don't try to
there's
hide
mutual
it.
disgust going on. Like the Antikins are very disgusted with the idea of food replicators.
Yeah.
And Yar and Riker are both super disgusted that they would that the Antikins would keep and slaughter animals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I mean, honestly, it's not too different from the vegan versus meat lover debate that we've all seen play out amongst friends or family. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do
Do you get that a lot in LA? Because we don't get that here in Sacramento.
We get a lot in LA. I go both ways. Like my wife is a pescatarian. She eats fish, but I eat everything. I don't eat much red meat because I'm just getting old and it's not good for you.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
But I'll eat chicken. I'll eat fish.
Yeah,
on a regular basis. But we both have a lot of vegan friends. Mm-hmm. Vegans are very assertive about their veganism. Oftentimes.
Yeah.
But I eat vegan food all the time because there's a lot of great vegan places. We went to a vegan place in LA a couple months ago.
I loved it. It was great. Yeah,
really delicious.
Yeah, there's a what is it called? Sunflower over here has like nut burgers.
I used to go to Sunflower when I lived in Sacramento. I love that place.
It's great. Yeah. I openly acknowledge, because I'm a big animal lover, and I acknowledge completely and totally that I'm an absolute hypocrite for eating what I eat.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is funny that you make that correlation there. Crusher is in sickbay with Worf. She has like a laser tag helmet on. It was like a weird claim. We never see this again. It's like
this never comes up again. This medical device that she's using to scan Worf is like a laser tag helmet with an eyepiece that glows.
Yeah.
Never comes up in the show again.
No, it's clunky as hell.
Yeah.
Worf then transfers his electricity to Crusher, whose disposition immediately changes to mild confusion. Troy comes in, right? The person,
the empath, the ship's counselor, who should be like, oh, something's remiss.
If there's something weird, oh, Jeff is, he's trying to lick his own asshole. Something's kind of wrong there. Like you don't have to be an empath to tell that. That's why you have empaths.
Yeah.
Is if there's no outward signs, and even with Crusher, who is acting super weird, suddenly on a dime, Troy should be able to be like, wow, that's weird. Something's going on in your head. So we should probably figure that out.
Troy's oblivious
because Worf then is like, oh, wow, look at me. I feel great now. What's going on? Where was I? Why am I here? He's all angry.
That should be like another sign to Troy that something's weird.
Maybe something
just like
is
floating. That's all. She's just like, why are you here?
Exactly. I never see
There's
her
a lot
counsel
of Troy
people.
In the first season. It's
Yeah.
just like, what is she doing?
Why is she around? She just cries a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crusher then goes to her abode where Wes is. He's studying some shit about dilithium crystals. She's acting all weird and asks about that. She goes to the bridge. She's milling about there because she said something about like, oh, navigation is on the bridge. That's where that is. So she goes to the bridge. She starts dicking around one of the workstations next to Data. He's like, oh, wow, Doctor, you're interested in propulsion or navigation? And she just completely ignores him. Apparently, he's kind of used to that because he just says, oh, whatever. I imagine a lot of people
weird.
do.
It seems like that should be cause for alarm, maybe?
Well, he's not huge on like understanding people.
Yeah.
After 29 years in existence, he still can't figure it out. Anyways, she transfers her energy stuff, the thing, to the panel, and then is like, oh, what am I doing here? And instead of saying, Captain, I totally just lost time. I blacked out. I have no idea how I got here. She's like, well, this is embarrassing. I'm just going to sheepishly walk off the bridge. Mm-hmm. That is important information to have.
Yeah. I mean, for a time when, like we talked about last episode, they don't really have alcohol anymore.
Right.
They have synthahol. A lot of behavior of the bridge officers, of the senior staff in this episode is like they're just functional alcoholics. They're just like,
right, yeah.
Oh, I just woke up after a 4-day bender. I have no idea what happened, but I got pants on, so everything's probably okay. Time for me to slowly back away.
Still alive. So anyway, she leaves. Reports start coming in of all sorts of ship malfunctions at that point.
Because the blue energy is now in the ship's computers.
The ship is blacking out now. Then we're introduced to Mr. Singh. I put here in my notes another engineer we never see again.
Which is unfortunate because
Find that out. We find out the reason for that. Why net later.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But he's a fun character.
I like
if he would
Mr.
have been
Singh.
like chief engineer for a while, I thought that would have been cool.
Oh, I know. I like Mr. Singh. I thought he was cool. Anyways, he's like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. He says even Argyle, who isn't seen, he says Argyle, he can't.
They
even
mention
figure it out.
Argyle, so
That's good too
they
for him.
say he's the chief engineer.
Yeah. Anyways, back to Riker. I feel like they had a half an episode and then just introduced this Antikin stuff, the alien stuff. They had like half an episode with this energy bolt going around places, or maybe like a third of an episode, and they had to fill out the rest of the episode with that.
It feels
alien.
like two different shows that they sort of cram together. It does have that feel to
usually,
it. There's no
if you have
cohesion.
usually you have an A story and a B story. There's some crossover. They sort of dovetail. There's none of that.
No.
There's none of that. Anyways, Riker is checking the shit out of some. Oh, they found some weapons somewhere that belong to the Antikins.
They found what they think are weapons. They belong to the Antikins. They present them to the Antikins, and the Antikins are like, no, yes, those could be used as weapons, but they're essentially like laser knives that we use to cut up the animals that we eat.
Yeah.
So,
He's like, we are hunting animals.
yeah.
Riker's like, dude, give up your weapons or your hunting tools or whatever you have. You're on notice. The ship then loses warp power. Picard is just mildly annoyed that they're not going to make it to Parliament on time. Parliament is their destination where they're going to have the...
They're taking the Antikins in this Sile for their for the process
Their powwow.
of possibly seeing them into the Federation.
which seems a remote possibility.
Seems
at
less
best.
likely the more time they're around.
Minutes.
They're just so
by the minute.
Every encounter with either member of these races, they're just like racist and trying to kill each other and just like not interacting with the ship's personnel well.
Yeah.
It's like,
Nobody wants them there, dude.
just take them back. Why don't you just do that?
Turn around. Just turn around. Anyways, let's see here. Subspace. Picard's like, hey, send a message to Parliament that we're going to be late. Subspace radio is also down. I like that they called it subspace radio. Anyways, ship is a mess. Picard starts conferring with Riker and Data. Data starts thinking that it's a saboteur. It's kind of a leap in logic, I guess.
a bit of a leap.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have a basis for that.
There's a lot of stuff going on in space. You got that giant energy cloud. You'd think maybe that has something to do with it, but Data's like, no, somebody's sabotaging the ship, rather. Anyways, then they blame the Ferengi. They're like, well, the Ferengi could have paid off the Antikins to do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Again with the Ferengi. They're all in on the Ferengi. Picard then commits an error in telling Data about Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Data then interest completely peaked and takes over pretty much his entire what he's thinking about. Like
They introduced two things that get brought back in the series several times. They introduced Picard's love of mystery and mystery fiction, and then in so doing, Picard brings up the concept of Sherlock Holmes, which apparently Data had never been exposed to.
Right.
But then Data being exposed to the idea of Sherlock Holmes becomes a sort of a show-long fascination for Data.
Yeah. Which is
They do fun stuff.
They
with
do
both
some
those
fun
later.
stuff with it. Yeah, they do some fun stuff with it. Yeah. Let's see here. Next up, we see Mr. Singh again. He tells Wes basically just to leave. You got to go do some work. You got to go.
Yeah, like
study.
Wes is like farting around engineering again, and Singh's like, "Great, you did good work. Go do your homework.
Yeah.
You know, you're a kid." Which is
He's like, that's captain's orders. You need to go. You need to go study. Mr. Singh, by the way, is totally wearing a girdle.
oh sure,
That is totally obvious.
They,
I would have to, but those are
a lot of
unforgiving.
those guys in those, especially the first two seasons. I think that's when the uniform was just one piece, and it was incredibly unforgiving.
Yeah, it was.
Later on in the show, the costuming department split it up, so it was like it'd be like a shirt and then pants.
Yeah.
And then they did different stuff where it would be like a baggier shirt, like a long sleeve shirt. The best one ever was Picard's iteration, where he had like the command thing was a jacket, and he had like
great.
a gray shirt underneath.
Yeah, it was awesome.
That was the coolest.
Super
one.
comfy.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's see here. Wes mentions the stuff, the dilithium crystal stuff, to Dr. Crusher from earlier, and she's like, I don't remember any of that. Again, she doesn't endeavor to like figure out why. Singh is then in engineering, gets hit with the electricity, and he's dead.
Just dies.
He dies. He can't handle it. Worf finds him.
So this electric entity has jumped across a couple beings already, and the computer system.
Yeah.
Tries to get into engineering officer Singh, and for whatever reason, just overloads him.
Yeah.
Just kills him,
Ooh.
which is a bummer because he's like a character with a lot of potential.
No, I know. I like Singh. I thought he was good. Out of the 3 fake chief engineers, I liked him the best.
Yeah, totally.
Anyways, Picard orders an investigation. Stuff on the ship comes back online. They warp out of there. Meanwhile, Tasha Yar is talking to some of the Antikins about the investigation, quizzing them. Where were you? What's your alibi? They said they were eating at the time, and she was like, you were eating for 12 hours straight. And they laugh at her and was like, yeah, we eat a lot, or something like that. Anyway, she's annoyed. Back in sickbay, Crusher tells Worf about the memory loss. I mean, that's not really going to,
Well, it was sort of, I guess, important for them to come to some agreement that they both had memory loss.
Yeah. So they're on the path, but I feel like everybody could have really put their heads together.
It should have happened a lot quicker.
It really should have, yeah. In the conference room, Data's full on Sherlock Holmes. Doesn't have the hat, doesn't have the suit.
He's got the Sherlock Holmes pipe.
He's got a pipe.
Which is inappropriate.
Super inappropriate. He's smoking.
You can't smoke in a workplace now.
Now.
It's 2018.
Yeah.
This is several hundred years in the future. I don't think that custom's going to change.
Nobody stops it, though, and I think it's probably Riker's job to stop it, but he doesn't because he's literally amused by it.
Yeah.
He's like, this idiot. He's like, whatever. We got dog people trying to eat lizard people. They just got a pipe. Our ship's broken. Whatever. Riker's
let's just let him smoke. That's the least of my worries.
It's like, item 18 on his priority list. Anyways, back in sick bay. Back in sick bay. Troy is putting Crusher under hypnosis.
I wrote that down. I said Troy does hypnosis on them, which is kind of dumb.
It was like, because I've seen, I'm not sure, I am no expert on hypnosis at all. They did it at our grad night thing when I was a senior, when I was graduating. They probably did it yours too. I'm trying to remember when I saw that. I've seen hypnosis perform before. I don't know if it's real or not. I'm sure it is. I've heard good things about it, I guess. I don't know. But this didn't look legit. She had like a little block with like a little hypno thing on it, which is like the most superficial form of like, I've never seen like, there's never like, look at this spiraling thing. It's always like, okay, close your eyes. You're blah, 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 blah. But she's doing like the, the cartoony version of it.
No, it was a totally cartoony version of hypnosis.
Exactly.
Listen, I don't know if hypnosis is a real thing or not either.
Yeah.
I think I've probably seen it at some context at a show or something. I've never had it done on me.
No, I would never.
I just feel like even if it is a thing right now, that some people have found effect for their life or their psychological regression or whatever, that in several hundred years they will have a different form of it that will be much more effective.
We're already
than this weird hokey version that she's doing.
We're already at the point where like they can tap into our brain and start like seeing certain images. You know what I mean? Like we're already on the precipice of like, being able to download our thoughts or whatever. We're not that far away.
No.
200, 300 years from now, we should be much further along.
No.
Anyways. So let's see here. Back in sickbay, yeah. And at that point, I made this note. This episode feels really long. Yeah. It felt really long at that point.
It's so long. I still have two full more pages of notes, and I don't remember anything that was any good.
Yeah, no,
none. A lot of people getting zapped. That was it.
A lot of zapping going on. Anyways, they all kind of determine at that point that something took them over. Data gets checked over his pipe. There was a funny moment where he's like doing his best Sherlock Holmes impression, and he circles around Yar, and she's like
she's super annoyed. That was a good performance.
That was a good
performance.
That was a fun bit.
Yeah,
I know. It's funny because the more episodes we like watch in this manner and pay attention to, the more I'm kind of bummed out. As well as the cast came together, season 2 and on, that Denise Crosby didn't stick around.
Well, You make choices in life, and she was just like, "All right,
true,
I got another opportunity. I'm gonna see what happens with this whole." What did she do? She did Red Shoe Diaries. Is that it?
I don't know if that was
Or is
before
that
or
a
after
thing?
this. I don't remember. I know she got naked in it though.
Yeah.
And then we're in the universal womb, and naked Tashiar shows
The
up.
blue universal womb, naked Tasha Yar. That was
And then
thrilling.
fire happens.
When you were a kid, though, and you remember Tasha Yar from Star Trek, and then it's like, oh, I have cable now. Now there's a show that I can stay up late and watch, and she's gonna be naked on it.
Yeah, it's pretty mind blowing. And then freaking Mulder was in it. Let's see here. Then we had Data gets checked over his pipe. Data is acting especially silly here. Back on the bridge, Geordi realizes helm control went down. The ship drops to impulse. Picard touches Geordi's panel, and then he gets the shock.
Picard gets zapped.
So now he's zapped. Although nobody else has had the painful, besides Worf, I guess. Well, yeah, from the panel to Worf, it was painful.
Yeah.
Singh got killed from
Destroyed.
it.
Crusher actually takes the best out of anybody.
I think that's because it's from person to person, maybe? I'm trying to think. Did anybody else have person to person? I don't know. Picard was really mellow. He was just like, hey, what's over here?
Oh, yeah,
Zap.
Picard takes it the best.
And then he was like, nobody even noticed. Like, Geordi was like, well, that was nothing. Anyways, Picard starts immediately acting weird.
Really weird.
He says, we're going to stop our ship now, turn around, and go to the big energy fart in space.
Riker's hyper aware of Picard, as well he should be, as well as
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
And is like, you're under alien influence.
Right. He's immediately thinking mutiny. He's like, oh, man, now it's Riker's
And
time
then
to
Picard
shine.
is immediately flip. This is a funny moment, actually. I chuckled at this.
Yeah.
Picard's like, I'm fine. You guys are all overworked.
Yeah.
He's immediately like, no, it's not me, it's you. It's all of you. It's like a weird intervention. Like, no.
Yeah.
I'm doing great.
Yeah. He says, I want you to get tests on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
The direction on Patrick Stewart's acting job was pretty interesting here because everything seemed so segmented. And I mean, I think to good effect because he would say one thing and then he would do this.
Yeah.
And then he would do this over here. So it's like the alien was trying to figure out how humans really interact.
Yes.
Like bit by bit, step by step. So anyways, then we get, again, another scene. It's like these scenes all just run into each other, the Antikins and the lizard people. And this time it's a still nameless Chief O'Brien.
Yeah.
He's trying to calm
He's
them
acting
down.
as security officer. with
Yeah.
One of the Antikins.
Jack of all trades.
Yeah.
Yeah. O'Brien is impossible to figure out with like if you want to maintain any form of consistency, he's impossible. Every time in the first season you see him, and then when he's transporter chief, but he's still lieutenant, and then he's enlisted when he's on Deep Space Nine, you can't figure it out. Like there's no career path that would take you from officer to enlisted that makes any lick of sense.
Oh, no. Yeah, that's,
you have to
that
just,
never makes any sense.
Yeah, you just have to throw that
I always
out.
thought he was enlisted, man. He didn't go to Starfleet, right? So that's why he's enlisted.
I would assume so. I think that's the path. Well, he's not an officer. So I guess, yeah, you have to go through Starfleet for that. But when he was transporter chief, clearly he had 2 pips. And they called him Lieutenant O'Brien.
Yeah, it's weird.
He was billed as Lieutenant O'Brien, too.
Yeah, it's a bit slapdash.
And they never, that's one thing I'm kind of surprised with. They never explain it. It's never explained.
Wow. There's a lot of things that go unexplained.
Yeah. Let's see here. Next up, he checks. Oh, yeah. So they go to the ready room, and what you talked about happens. He just throws it back at them.
Throws it right back at him.
Everybody gets medical evals except for him. So they leave. Riker is then walking down the hall, again, in what feels like a separate episode. He gets roped around the neck by a fucking lizard guy. And he's like, whoa, because they're hunting, Antikins. And he's like, he goes right to the panel, is like, security, get down here now. And then Crusher goes back to Picard.
With the results of all the tests.
Says, we're good. We're clean.
Everybody's good.
Now we're just looking at you.
And then Picard immediately just admits.
Comes out with it.
He's like, yeah, I got taken over by an alien.
There's a lot going on up here. A lot going on up here. And so they reach the energy cloud. Picard starts talking basically in the voice of the thing that took him over. Says, I'm going to beam over there. See that thing out in outer space? I'm going to beam over there. I want to go there. Crusher is about to check him, but instead he puts his hands down on both the panels on the Data's thing console and Geordi's console, and just like energy just and like blast through everybody. And so they're all like flustered and like, I can't see anything. Oh my God, I can't. Where is everything? You hear ADR Riker again. Oh my God, what's happening? Or whatever.
Give him all you got, LaForge.
Give him all you got, Picard. so anyways, they're all a mess. Picard just moseys on out to the
goes to the transport room.
Yeah, goes to the transport room.
And beams himself out into space.
Into space. At that point, his physical body should be completely gone.
Yeah.
Like it should be, and then dies.
So, the way that the beaming technology works in Star Trek lore is it takes your physical body and changes it into an energy form, which then it sends via subspace to manifest and be recombined at a different point in actual space.
Right, I believe so.
So then if he's actually using the full transporter technology to beam himself out into the middle of the space fart, then yes, his physical form would be dead. But you don't know exactly what he's doing, what the alien entity is doing through him.
Yeah.
Via the transporter technology, which it understands because it had been jumping around the ship's computers for a while. So I guess theoretically what he was doing was he communicated with the transporter technology in some way, interfaced with the panel, beamed himself out into the space fart, but not to the extent that it reformed his physical being in the middle of space.
Yeah.
It essentially has beamed the energy pattern of Picard and also the energy form that had taken over Picard's body.
Yeah.
And beamed those out into the space fart where it came from.
Yeah. I don't know I forget if it was ever. So, like, for example, when there was 2 Rikers, wasn't that evidence that, so like your essence, because here's the thing. I am assuming they're taking whatever it is going on up here.
Yes.
And recreating your body via the information that's being sent along with your shit, your consciousness, over to the other transporter.
Yeah.
And reforming you physically.
Correct.
That's how you can explain the 2 Rikers, because one energy beam came up here and got deflected and then reformed down here. It was creating your physical form, I guess. So I don't know. I don't even know why I was bringing that up. It's a mess.
The idea of point-to-point matter transmission, when you're talking about a sentient being, gets confusing.
Yeah, sure.
Because it's hard to tell if your consciousness and all your memories have a biological foundation that would be transferred in that proposition.
Yeah.
You don't know if you're gonna even if you have something that can transport this pen from one point in space to the other without actually physically moving it. This is just a pen. You know? If it's a pen and it's still a working pen, you're like, oh, great, it worked. A being that has memories and has, a quote unquote soul, and has a whole thought process, even if you can physically reform that at another point to manifest without physically moving it, there's no way to know if in reforming it, it will have the memories and the experiences and all that stuff that it had before.
Yeah.
So the sort of theoretical proposition in the context of Star Trek is, they figured that out. It works. And sometimes weird stuff happens. Like later on in the series, there's an episode where you encounter another Riker, which is essentially the transporter system malfunctions due to interference with another planet's atmosphere. And instead of, it does successfully beam the Riker that goes on to become Commander Riker, first officer of the Enterprise. But also because of the interference with that particular planet's atmosphere, the transporter also sends the energy back to, and then also recombines another Riker back to the planet.
Yeah.
That Riker lives on that planet for a while until the Enterprise comes and finds him.
Bad luck Riker.
Yeah. And that Riker, that second Riker, takes on a different name, takes on Riker's middle name, and goes on to exist in Star Trek lore later on.
He's got the saddest post-episode story in the novels. He ends up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he ends up dying in a Cardassian labor camp.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Because remember, he joins the Maquis in Deep Space on that episode of Deep Space Nine.
DS9, yeah.
He never gets out of that.
Jesus,
it's bad.
That's probably one of the most tragic characters in Star Trek.
I know.
Is the Thomas Riker.
Yeah, because you see like what he became and what he could have been. Yeah. So, anyways, the energy beam. So yeah, like an hour goes by.
Yeah, Picard's out there. The captain of the Enterprise of the main ship of the entire Starfleet, the flagship of Starfleet, is just floating around in space in the form of energy in the middle of a space part for an hour. Yeah. And nobody's really doing anything.
Yeah, they're all just kind of dicking.
They're all just like, what should we do? And then eventually an hour later, only an hour, they're like, all right, I guess we should probably just take off. Which is so dumb.
Riker's already like measuring his seat in his ready room. He's like, all right, let's
I'm gonna put some drapes up. Well, I want some paintings of foxy ladies on black velvet.
Yeah,
that's how Riker would decorate for sure.
Yeah, lava lamp. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He's like he's already ordering his 4th pip from the Starfleet uniform code. Anyways, so then they find out that he is in the ship's circuitry. And if they didn't want to make it obvious enough, Picard energizes a P on Geordi's console, making it fairly obvious that, Picard is here in the circuitry of the ship. And then they go to the transporter room. Data's kind of half explaining, well, yeah, he was the last guy to beam out, so his pattern is still available in the memory system.
Yeah, so
hopefully he knows to go there.
Yeah, if his consciousness is in the ship's circuitry, if it floated back in from the space fart, then he knows that we're here. He's paying attention to our position. I can just take his pattern and reform him. Right?
Yeah, and they do that. But he doesn't really remember anything that happened because...
So, I mean, in line with the conversation that we just had, I don't know if that's the actual Picard that got beamed out into space.
Right, exactly.
They could just be making a new Picard.
It seems like they just did that.
Yeah, I think they just did that, which is weird.
I think we saw Picard die, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like thinking about that because I read an article like a while ago, and it was like Wired or some little clickbaity thing, BuzzFeed, that was saying, they're pretty much just killing. Whenever you teleport, you're just killing people. Which I like to think that.
I mean, pretty much.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I like to think that they got around that by like saying that the actual like shit in your brain that makes you is being converted and sent physically somewhere else to be rematerialized in maybe a new body. But that juice, that essence that makes you in your brain, the physical chemicals are actually being sent. Well, I like to think that's the case.
Sure. It's like we were just talking about why hypnosis is such a silly idea to have in the context of this show.
Yeah.
Like we aren't that far right now in 2018, and this is like what's so expertly dealt with in shows like Black Mirror. We're not that far away from being able to sort of transfer consciousness into a digital realm. So, maybe they in a couple centuries they totally have that figured out. In addition to the idea of physically transporting a body.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So, anyways, let's see here. After that. There's some crappy Sherlock Holmes joke that I didn't even write down, but somebody says something about Sherlock Holmes. I forget. And then Yar comes in and tells them that the dog people are trying to eat the lizard people.
Oh, somebody, so Picard's back, but he doesn't really remember what happened. I think the Data says, Data's like, somebody's like, Data, it's great. Yeah, it's great that you figured it out. And Data does a Sherlock thing. He says, indubitably, or elementary, my dear Riker, or some crappy thing like that.
Right.
And then Picard says, at least you got rid of that damn pipe, which is very silly.
Yeah, man, that's all they had.
And then Yar hops. Yeah, you got really frustrated with this. You didn't write out the rest of it. There's a couple beats left.
You're doing great.
You're so
doing
mad.
Good.
Yar does come in. I mean, only two things happen, really. Yar comes in and says, hey, there's a puddle of blood. She's just like, which is a pressing issue.
Hold on a second, though. Picard's been, by all accounts, dead for an hour.
Yeah.
Yar has to know this.
Also, yeah, they're not really sure that Picard is Picard. They might have just cloned a new captain, which seems like it would violate several Starfleet rules.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Yar says there's a puddle of blood.
Oh, hi,
is a
Captain.
problem.
She comes, it's like the room. There's a puddle of blood out there. Oh, hi, Captain.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Yeah. One of the Sealays was likely killed by an Antikin.
Mm-hmm.
Huge diplomatic issue. In addition to just the cleaning that they're gonna have to do, there's a lot of blood to clean up.
Yeah, it's gotta be gross. Yeah.
And then in probably one of my favorite Picard exits ever, he literally yoinks out.
He does.
He just looks at Riker and he's like, "You got a big problem to handle."
You
and just
deal
leaves.
You deal with it.
Yeah, he's like, "All right, good luck with that." And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, what a turd. What a turd of an episode.
It was so many, like even that last bit. He's been dead for an hour. Then they rematerialize when Yar comes in. There's a blood stain. Your captain's, you thought he was going to be dead. You thought he was dead.
You are the chief security
hi,
officer.
Captain.
You should have been much more concerned about the disappearance of your captain for the last hour.
And she's like, "It is good to have you." I'm sorry, sir. It is good to have you back. Well, yeah, he thought he was dead. He wasn't gone. He was dead.
Oh.
Man.
It's still shockingly not the worst episode of the first season. So.
We have plenty left from the first season. Up next week we'll be talking about is it Justice? Is that the next one?
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Not a bad episode.
I like their little outfits.
Yeah.
Probably could have used more actual sex in it.
There's a lot of leering from Riker, which is always fun.
Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna be shooting that one up next, and so that'll air next week. And if you have any questions about that episode, so we're not going to shoot it today. We're going to shoot it like in the next round. So there might be some time between it. Wait, no, I don't know. I have no idea how.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. If you have any questions for upcoming episodes, we're doing this chronologically. Leave them in the comments or hit us up on Twitter. Our Twitter handles are down below. And until next time, we'll talk to you guys later.